Hey, what's up, guys? Pete Alonso here from the New York Mets, and I'm here with Alfred. And I just want to say thank you so much to all you guys for listening to the Metropolitan Report. It's a really awesome show. You got some great insight on Mets baseball, and yeah, it's a great place where Mets baseball is talked about, and we got a lot of really fun stuff coming up this year. And a lot of really great things coming from this team in the clubhouse, and I'm really excited to keep the ball rolling. And it's been such a fun season, and I'm really thankful for everybody coming out to the ballpark and supporting us, and it's just been absolutely tremendous. So thank everybody for listening to the Metropolitan Report, and Alfred, keep doing your thing, and as always, LFGM.
Hey, everybody, it's Alfred Parsar Jr. back with another edition of the Metropolitan Report. We're on today's program. We're going to talk about the Mets' recent series that just wrapped up yesterday in Miami. We'll look forward to the upcoming home opening series against the Toronto Blue Jays. That starts tomorrow, 3:10 p.m. at Citi Field. We'll talk a little injury news and go over some key takeaways of the most recent series. But before I get into anything here on the program today, I encourage you guys, if you like the content, you agree or disagree with anything that I may say throughout the course of this program or in previous episodes of the report, make sure you leave a comment. You think something is, I don't know, outlandish that comes out of my mouth, or if you wholeheartedly agree, sound off in the comments and let me know. And please remember to subscribe, because every time there's a new video that goes up right here on the YouTube channel, you'll get a notification and you'll be one of the first people to know. So if you like what you see, I appreciate all the support. Make sure you subscribe. 6 games into the season, the Mets are 3-3. 500 ball, no problem with that. But the Mets win their first series of the season. They take 2 out of 3 from the Miami Marlins. And wouldn't you know who the hero of this series was? I mean, you see the guy every episode of the Metropolitan Report in the beginning. A good friend of the show, our biggest co-signer and advocate for this program, Mr. Peter Morgan Alonso. And boy, what a series Pete Alonso had in Miami. Pete Alonso, he hit 416 with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 2 walks drawn against the Miami Marlins. Pete Alonso was a guy who, when his contract was up, a lot of people didn't want Pete Alonso back. They said, oh, we can put Mark Vientos at first. Oh, let's wait a season because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a free agent after next season. Let's go get Vlad. We don't need Pete. These are the same people that forget that when the Mets were facing elimination in the wild card round against the Brewers in the postseason last season, Pete Alonso saved the season. Pete Alonso saved the game yesterday. Mets were down 4-1, and here comes Pete Alonso. Almost the exact same situation. He gets thrown the exact same pitch in the exact same location. The only difference, it's a different team and a different ballpark. He goes yard and ties the game up. Mets go to extras, win it in extras. But if Pete Alonso doesn't walk to the plate, that doesn't happen. Pete Alonso, phenomenal series, especially in the game yesterday. He had 3 hits yesterday. 2 of them were doubles, and then, of course, the aforementioned home run. On Monday, against the Marlins, man hit a grand slam. In a 3-game series, he had 8 RBI, 2 home runs. Pete Alonso's on fire, folks. And if you look at the overall season averages for everybody that's on this ball club, Pete Alonso's not doing bad at all. I mean, he could be hitting below 100 like Francisco Lindor. Pete Alonso's hitting 286 so far through the season. He's now 24 home runs away from breaking Darryl Strawberry's all-time Mets home run record, which no doubt he's going to break that. Unless something catastrophic or some force of nature or act of God stops Pete Alonso from playing baseball this season, that record is going to be his. And he's hitting the home runs when they matter. He hit that grand slam on Monday and broke the game open. Hit the home run, tied the game up yesterday. Of course, the Mets are off today because they have to travel from Miami back to Queens. They have their home opener tomorrow. More on that later. But Pete Alonso, everybody was ready to say good riddance to that man. Not me, though, but a lot of people were ready to say good riddance. They want to enter the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sweepstakes, even though that's no guarantee. And they were ready to write Pete off. Oh, we got Juan Soto. We don't need Pete Alonso. Not to say that Juan Soto's not balling, but Pete Alonso, my goodness. He single-handedly, offensively carried this Mets ball club through this series in Miami. Again, Pete Alonso, our biggest supporter of this show, a friend of the show, and I'm glad to see him successful. Always rooted for Pete since day one. He's a homegrown product, been in the organization. We drafted him. I remember when he made the team out of spring training in 2019. And it's good to see Alonso thriving. And remember, he's on a 2-year deal with an opt-out after this season. If he can hit like this for the entire length of the season, hit above 275, hell, even hit above 250, give me 40 homers and over 100 RBI, he rightfully should opt out, and we should pay that man. But, you know, David Stearns, our GM, he doesn't like long-term investments for older players. But that's okay because I firmly believe Pete Alonso will keep this up the rest of the year. He's gonna earn that contract. But Pete Alonso, the MVP by far of this Miami Marlins series. Of course, the Mets won on Monday, and they won yesterday. They did lose on Tuesday. Alonso in that game Tuesday went 0 for 4, but that's baseball. You're not going to be able to go 3 for 4 or 4 for 4 or 2 for 4 every single game. But what an impressive series by Alonso. Again, Pete Alonso against the Marlins in that series, 416 average, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, and he drew 2 walks. And noticeably, those pitchers in Miami were scared to pitch to Alonso. And Pete Alonso so far this season, for those of you who have seen the games or seen the highlights or watched the tape, exercising a bit of plate discipline more than what he's had in his career. Pete Alonso was notorious for swinging at pitches high out of the zone, low out of the zone, pitches at eye level, pitches at his feet. Not doing that so far this season. I know 6 games is a small sample size, but Pete Alonso definitely producing so far this season. He has more RBIs than games played. But for all the good that Pete Alonso did in this Marlins series, there's one big noticeable deficiency that this Mets team has right now. It is the defense. Notably, the second base play from Brett Baty, an abomination. Disgraceful. You want to talk about Mark Vientos? They said move him over to first. Well, first might have to be in his future somewhere else or in an alternate universe, but get that man off third because he too made some silly mistakes, silly errors. And even the rookie sensation, the phenom, Luis Angel Acuna, made some errors in that series that led to runs. And Francisco Lindor, who is one of the more sure-handed infielders you will ever see, 2 errors in the same game Tuesday night that screwed Kodai Senga. And those 2 errors that Lindor made led to 2 runs that the Marlins would not have had he not made those errors. I'm not so much as mad at Lindor because we all know Francisco Lindor is a defensive gem. That guy usually, if you know he's having a bad day if he even makes 1 error in a game, let alone 2. Usually, Lindor, Gold Glove caliber shortstop. But I'll put it to you like this, and I've said this on previous editions of this program. You could go back in the YouTube playlist titled 2025 New York Mets season coverage and see it in various episodes when I was covering this team in spring training. Brett Baty should not be playing second base. He shouldn't. He couldn't even master third. Like, am I saying something wrong here? Like, Brett Baty's weakness was always defense. He came up in the minors, third base. Majors, third base. It wasn't until spring training this year when Nick Madrigal went down and then Jeff McNeil went down where they said, all right, this guy's hitting, but we need to find a place for him because we're not taking Vientos off third. Let's put the man at second base since we have a need and see what he can do because his bat is just so great. I mean, granted, the man hit over 333 in spring training. He deserved an opportunity to make the team. But if I'm Carlos Mendoza, because Mendoza, and I'm going to tell you how to fix this problem. Carlos Mendoza has been using Starling Marte or Jesse Winker at DH, but why don't you platoon Baty in there? Jesse Winker is a capable outfielder. If Nimmo or Soto needs a day off, you can move Soto to center field. He's played center before. Or you can move Nimmo to center field if you want to leave Soto at right and put Winker at left. Winker has played left field in the majors before. Why does he have to be a DH? When we acquired him last season from the Nationals, he was playing left field. Baty is a clear defensive liability. He has never been good in the field. And here you have a guy making errant throws that almost cost you some games. If his bat's good, okay, put him in DH. DHs don't need to play the field. Do you know how many guys have had Hall of Fame careers because they were DHs? Like Edgar Martinez, Jim Thome, Frank Thomas. Not to say that Baty is the caliber of those guys, but if he made the team because of his bat out of spring training, put Winker in the outfield. Like and not for nothing, but Winker hasn't been setting the world on fire. But put Baty at a DH and let Acuna get reps. Because again, Acuna learns nothing. He doesn't gain experience from watching these games in the dugout on the days that and I get it. Left-handed pitcher Acuna will start. Right-handed pitcher Baty will start. But you can put them both in the lineup. What? So Acuna is never going to get righty-righty reps or righty-righty at bats? Please. Brett Baty should be a DH if he's going to stay on this team. Not to mention, there was this one play in the game yesterday, and thank God for team challenges and replay review, because Miami, when the game was tied at 4 apiece, had a man on third. There was a slow grounder hit to Baty. The infield was in more than usual. Baty could have gunned the runner down from third by throwing to home. Would have been out by a mile. He throws the ball to Luis Torrens. And why does he throw it on the opposite side of where Torrens needs to tag him? Instead of throwing it to the third base side, he throws it to the first base side. And luckily, Torrens, I don't know how he did it, but luckily, Luis Torrens was able to stretch back and tag the runner out, and the call was overturned. That call sticks. We lose the game. Because the Mets didn't take the lead in the game until the 11th inning. Almost cost you. You want Baty on the team for his bat? DH him. Again, it's not like Jesse Winker is batting 300 or even 250. You can platoon DHs. Obviously, Starling Marte is not your everyday DH. It's apparent. You can have room for Baty and let Acuna, who is the better of the two defensively, and I said that when we looked at the second base battle a few episodes ago at the end of spring. I said that for anybody keeping score. But the defense has to improve. And then Mark Vientos, yes, same game yesterday. Runner on third, one out, and there's also runner on first. So runners on the corners with one out. Ground ball gets hit to Vientos. Now, a seasoned pro or even a smart defender would think, okay, there's one out, man on first, and there's a man on third. The ball gets hit to me. I'm going to go and turn a double play around the horn from third to second to first. But no, what does he do? He throws home. And what happened when he threw home? He threw the ball away. Vientos, I mean, I don't know who else you're going to get to play third, especially with, like I said, Beatty is a defensive liability. Acuna plays second. We have to stick with Vientos at third. I'm acknowledging that. But these guys, they need to do some fielding drills because the defense almost cost us. Like I said, I'm not going to harp on Lindor because Lindor very, very rarely ever makes these type of mistakes. He made those in Tuesday's game, 2 errors that led to 2 runs. But I'm not going to harp on that. But Vientos and Beatty, if those guys are going to be everyday position players, they got to sharpen up. Like I said, Luis Torrens in a replay review bailed Beatty out of that fatal mistake that would have cost us the game. And luckily for Vientos, our good friend Pete Alonso was able to hit that 3-run home run to get us back in the game. But this defense needs work. The defense needs work. Well, the infield defense. There's been no issues in the outfield, but the infield defense absolutely needs work. Before we stop talking about this Miami series, I would just like to give a shout out to the Mets backup catcher, Hayden Senger. Senger, of course, got his first career major league hit in the game yesterday. It was a double. And it is safe to say that I guess Hayden Senger can call his manager at Whole Foods and put in his resignation. Not even a 2 weeks notice. Just tell him, you're not coming back. You've got a much better job. Of course, for those of you keeping up with Mets news, Hayden Senger worked at Whole Foods as a part-time job while he was in the minor leagues. Of course, Senger, this is a feel-good story. Hayden Senger has been in the organization since 2018. In the offseason and in between spring training and home games, when there were gaps in his schedule, he would pick up shifts at Whole Foods. But Senger, with his first career major league hit, shout out to that young man. I'm very happy for him. It's a real feel-good story, and I'm going to miss him when Francisco Alvarez returns back to the lineup because, again, he only made the major league roster because Luis Torrens was the backup thrust into the starting role, and now Senger, somebody had to be a backup catcher, so Senger is in that role. But feel-good story. The man's got his first career major league hit, hopefully the first of many, and kudos to you, and I hope you get to use that Whole Foods discount one last time before you put in your resignation. Moving on, some injury news for the Mets. Starting pitcher Sean Manaea, who basically missed all of spring training with the oblique injury, has a setback in his recovery. He's going to be shut down for another 2 weeks. He felt some discomfort during a long toss session and went to get an MRI. The MRI showed inflammation in his oblique, so they've shut him down for another 2 weeks. He won't be able to throw in that 2-week period, and then once he does throw, he'll need an additional 6 weeks to ramp up to get him ready for the season. He essentially needs a spring training. He did not have a spring training this season, and it's been reported that he received a plasma injection for the inflammation in his oblique. Bad news for Manaea. Of course, Manaea last season was one of the cogs in the ignition, one of the key cogs in the ignition, the spark plug of the rotation, had a phenomenal second half of 2024 that led the Mets on that magical run all the way to the NLCS. But Sean Manaea, worst case scenario, he's going to be down for 2 weeks and an additional 6. So that's 8 weeks. 8 weeks is 2 months. We're in April now. So don't expect Sean Manaea to take the hill in Flushing or in any major league ballpark for the Mets, for that matter, until mid to late June. So a setback that's going to hurt, especially the way the rotation has been performing. Of course, David Peterson and Tyler McGill have been solid. Kodai Senga was solid. Wouldn't have given up all 2 of those 4 runs had it not been for the Lindor errors on Tuesday. And Griffin Canning has looked okay, but didn't get the job done in Houston. So this rotation could really use Sean Manaea when he gets back. We're wishing him a great recovery, and hopefully he has no more setbacks in his recovery from the oblique injury. But now, the big news. Well, not in big news, but what I'm most excited for. The Mets' first 6 games were on the road. They opened the season on the road. And tomorrow, Friday, April 4th, they're coming home. I'll be in attendance. For those of you who are going to the Mets home opener, we're on Instagram at _Metropolitan_report. Anybody wants to meet up, hang out at the game, grab a cold one, just let me know. I'm more than happy to talk shop with anybody. But the home opener, the Mets are going to host the Toronto Blue Jays. That first game is Friday at 3 p.m. Well, first pitch 3:10 p.m. For those of you who are going to the game, the Mets have encouraged everybody to take mass transit, as this game is sold out. Every last seat in the stadium is going to be occupied. And I've been to several opening days. I've been to every opening day since 2019, minus the COVID year. Obviously, there were no fans, and opening day is always a party-like atmosphere. So I'm expecting nothing but energetic vibes that day. The Mets welcoming the Toronto Blue Jays in this series. Of course, the Toronto Blue Jays just finished up a series with the Washington Nationals. And the Toronto Blue Jays, they're no slouch. That is regardless of what's going on in their organization, this is a talented group of guys. The Blue Jays are actually first in the American League, entering play today, Thursday, April 3rd. They are 5-2, so 71% win percentage on the young season, and several players to watch out for on the Blue Jays are as follows, as you see on the graphic. George Springer, the ex-Met, who everybody thought was our shortstop of the future until he wasn't. And he was involved in the trade that brought Francisco Lindor here in 2021, Andres Gimenez. And, of course, the legacy, Bo Bichette, the son of Dante. Springer, as you can see, batting .429, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base. Gimenez on a tear. He's been red hot, .308 average, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a stolen base. And Bo Bichette, a .310 average. He hasn't homered or stole a base yet, but he does have 3 RBIs hitting at the top of that lineup. So these are the 3 players that I think have the potential to do the most damage for this Blue Jays team. Of course, there's always Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on a bit of a slow start. He's only batting .222 so far this season, but Vlad is a superstar of the game of baseball today. He's going to be a guy who everybody's going to want to sign when his contract is up. If he's unable to get an extension from the Blue Jays, that situation is very, very murky. We're not getting into it because we're not a Blue Jays podcast, but he always has the room to put in some damage against opposing pitching. The pitching matchups for this weekend on the Friday game, Toronto is sending out Kevin Gausman to the hill. He'll be going up against Tyler McGill, who, again, had a great start against the Houston Astros. I expect him to keep it up against the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, McGill battled for that final rotation spot in camp, won the job, and looked really good against the Houston Astros in his start last week. Saturday, former Met Chris Bassett is going to go up against Griffin Canning. That one could go either way. I noticed that in certain situations, Bassett can really get razzled, especially when he was a Met. When the pressure got on, the pressure cooker really affected Bassett. In low leverage situations, he's great. High leverage situations remains to be seen. And then on Sunday, Bowden Francis, who had a good outing for the Blue Jays in his last appearance, goes up against David Peterson. So those are your pitching matchups. Again, the Mets home opener this Friday, well, tomorrow at 3:10 p.m. For those of you going to the game, parking lot opens at 12:10. So if you're driving, you're not going to be able to park your car before noon. Don't try it. They will not let you in. But if you are going to drive to the game, make sure you get there early because that parking lot will fill up very fast. And then, of course, for those of you who do drive, but those of you who do drive, they tell you to get there early. They do recommend taking the train because there's going to be a lot of traffic on Roosevelt Ave on that and Seaver Way for that matter on Friday. That game is completely sold out. So parking lot opens at noon. Gates open at 1:10 p.m. So you'll be able to get into the ballpark up to 2 hours before the first pitch. I'm definitely getting there early because I need to walk around Citi Field for the first time being there this season. Of course, check out the team store, check out the Mets Museum, see if they added anything new, and just walk around and get the feel of the ballpark. I always enjoy going to Citi Field. And again, I'll be around. So anybody wants to join me for a cold one, let me know, and I will meet you there. But ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification every time we go live. If you think I'm too critical of Beatty and Vientos, sound off in the comments. If you think I've heaped too much praise on Alonso, which he rightfully deserves, sound off in the comments. Until then, folks, I'll be at the home opener tomorrow. So I'll see everybody out there in the ballpark. Be safe, and let's go Mets. See you next time.